All right.
Here we are.
We are on live. Well, not live on YouTube, but we are on the YouTube podcast of the Scotchy Bourbon Boys. This is our little extra session that we have here. We are pre-recording this. We pre-record them all, but this podcast will run during the week that I will be on vacation, which is March 19th through the 28th. So you'll be hearing this and knowing that I'm down in Florida enjoying some warm weather instead of the crap that's
19 degrees here in Ohio
and
today.
Snow and ice, and after it rained all day, froze us out. Just when it comes down to a Saturday, it's about as shitty of a Saturday. I was talking to my wife about doing some projects because there's nothing you can do. I mean, this is, we're talking right now, we are March 12th, and we have had some halfway decent weather up here.
A little bit.
That, if you could go out and if it was, 60, 55, 65 degrees, you could, go down to Amish country or something, 19 degrees. Although February and March, for probably the last 10 to 15 years, have been Ohio's winter months.
At least, and they've always been messy months. You always get the ice storms in the end of February, beginning of March.
But I've got all these Facebooks from 7, 8, 9 years, and there's full out snow cover at this time of the year, this past week, in all the pictures. And it's just like, it just seems like February is when the cold weather actually starts. January and December, usually here in Ohio, are warm because one, you don't have a lot of snowfall, you get a lot of rain, and you do get a little bit of snow, but not a lot. But then we finally got dumped on in February. And, when your house is, we got 2 giant snowstorms pretty much back to back. And, it stayed up, it usually doesn't stay in Ohio for very long, but the snow cover stayed around for about 2-3 weeks.
Yeah, with the year before last being the exception. If you remember December of 2020, we probably had more snow on Christmas than we ever did in my lifetime. I think we had a 9-inch snowfall, but that's odd.
Well, even then, though, I think 2 days later, it was 45 degrees and it all melted.
Yeah, I mean, it melted off fairly quick.
I haven't had a need to use my snowblower in a long time. We have a flat driveway, so there's no need usually. And this year was 2 straight times of, and we got 18 inches the one time.
So you're going out and doing the snowblower a couple times each snowfall.
Yeah, that was some serious things and I didn't have a snowblower. I do now. I was hoping it would snow a little bit more than 3 inches or 2 inches like it did, but it was barely an inch on the ground on all the streets. Yeah. The streets handled it, but it probably about 2 inches otherwise. Yes. So tonight we are this morning, we are tasting Buzzards Roost Straight Rye whiskey. Now, this is what would you say? Something that Tiny doesn't do. I'm Tiny. This here's Xavier. I usually don't do how I just a couple of weeks ago, I got a call that this was in, and I just kind of went over there, picked it up. And when I got there, I thought it was going to be the Buzzards Roost Bourbon, but it was the Buzzards Roost Rye. And it ran $65. And I was like, it's a rye. I don't like ryes, but there was a gut feeling on this one for me to pick it up. One, if you look at that, beautiful, dark. Yeah. It's a mahogany. It's not a caramel. It's really a nice color there. And I took the plunge and bought it. So, you're going to find out on this particular podcast what we think of it, because it's not like I'm tasting it for the first time like the last podcast where I was tasting Stellum for the first time. It's fun to do podcasts when you're tasting the first time, but it's also fun to do podcasts when you found something, you've already have an opinion, had a little bit of time to analyze, and then see what it tastes like when you actually get there. So it's really kind of cool. It's interesting, but we're going to start the main podcast right now because we don't want to give out too much information, so we have to give it out twice on the podcast. But this blending, where are they from? I mean, are they out of Indiana?
It says they're distilled in Indiana and bottled in Bardstown, Kentucky.
So, and we got a little bit about the person who's doing the blending in a little bit later. So it's like, we're kind of excited. Remember, you can find us on all podcast formats. And you're watching us here right now on YouTube, but also check out our Facebook group. Check out us on Instagram, Twitter, and also Patreon. We love the support of Patreon. If you go to our website, www.scotchybourbonboys.com, top right-hand corner is a button to get you to Patreon to support us. We appreciate all support thrown our way.
Yes, we do.
So with that said, let's start the actual podcast.
Get the show on the road.
Dant Crossing, Gethsemane, Kentucky. Timeless hospitality that stirs the spirit. Dant Crossing is a one-of-a-kind destination for unforgettable weddings, memorable corporate events, day trips, and weekend getaways. The pastoral campus is anchored by Log Still Distillery and includes an amphitheater that seats 2,000, a 12-acre lake for fishing and unique lodging options, creating an immersive experience that's rooted in the community and culture of our little slice of Kentucky. More attractions will open soon at Dant Crossing, including our 21,000 square foot distillery, which we will have the ability to produce 15,000 barrels of spirit each year, a network of wooded walking trails, fully functional private train depot, farm-to-table restaurant, and the Legacy, a premier wedding and events venue. Whether you're looking to host an event, book a stay, or reserve a tasting, we're ready to welcome you. Learn more at dantcrossing.com.
Spirits of French Lick is proud to introduce the Maddie Gladden Bottled and Bond Bourbon. This 4-year aged bourbon is double pot distilled and non-chill filtered and has a full-bodied mouthfeel with eucalyptus, molasses, clove, ginger, and slight citrus as well as grains of paradise. The finish is long and reappearing on the back of the tongue with notes of pepper, tobacco leaf, and mint cream. All of our spirits are available for tasting and purchase inside the French Lick Winery and Distillery. Spirits of French Lick. Respect the grain, please enjoy responsibly, and be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram.
Oh, show me the way to the next whiskey bar. Oh, don't ask why. Oh, don't ask why. Show me the way to the next whiskey bar. Oh, don't ask why. Oh, don't ask why. For if we don't find the next whiskey bar, I tell you we must die. I tell you we must die. I tell you, I tell you, I tell you we must die.
Woo! We are back for another Scotchy Bourbon Boy podcast. It's Xavier here with Tiny.
Greetings.
We are going to, this is a special supplement podcast that we're dumping in that when I'm on vacation, March 19th through the 28th, that we will be able to keep supplying you with really cool content. Remember, we're the Scotchy Bourbon Boys, www.scotchybourbonboys.com. Check it out for all things Scotchy Bourbon Boys. Remember, we do whiskey live tastings every second and fourth Friday of the month. This final, we just finished one up last night. Myself and Roxy tasted Monk's Road, but the coming, we will be on vacation. I'm trying to get one in. We'll have more information as that goes down. You'll be hearing this that week. Hopefully we'll be announcing what that is and doing it from Florida. Actually, we just finished podcasting. I did, and then Xavier came in at the end with Young Nose. And
Young Nose Johnson.
He made a suggestion that maybe we move it to a Saturday night and we do it in Florida or South Carolina when we're staying on our way home at a nice resort, and he would come down and join me for that particular podcast. It's a possibility. Oh, that's really bad. Where the heck did that come from? All right, there we go. No wonder I didn't button this. Anyways, all right, so
there's always some technical
I think that was toothpaste or something. I don't know, but anyways, that was not good. So anyways, today, just make sure we're on all podcast formats. Check us out. And if you're listening, please leave feedback for us, good feedback, and then make some comments. It helps us on to let the people that all the different formats know that you're listening and you like what you're hearing. So check us out, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, I believe, and did I say that already? No, I said that before on the YouTube part, right? Yeah, and Twitter. So check us out. Most of you who are listening have seen us on all the different formats. We try and keep it fun. We love to do unedited podcasts where it's just straightforward us. It's kind of like if you were down here in our studio. We're bringing that right to you. We're not going to edit out the mistakes. We don't edit out any of the problems. Sometimes every once in a while, if there's a technical difficulty that's happening too long, we will eliminate it because it's already been
just so you don't have to have dead space coming through.
Well, especially on YouTube, because sometimes it'll go out on the podcast and it's already eliminated on the podcast, but then it'll go out to everybody and on YouTube, and you don't have to watch us fumble around while we're, technologically being idiots. So anyways, today's podcast is going to be Buzzards Roost Straight Rye Whiskey. This is a barrel strength. It is 57.15 or 114.3 proof. Delicious bourbon. This rye, I said bourbon, the delicious rye. This rye was something that was kind of a thing that I normally don't do. I try and taste the ryes because I dislike so many of them that before I actually purchase it, but I decided on this one, I was going to take a chance. And I think when you find out that when we barrel bash this, that you're going to enjoy the results of what we come up with.
Yep. Got a little background here. This is from the Buzzards Roost whiskey.com website. The story of Buzzards Roost started nearly 2 decades ago with one man's goal to educate people about whiskey. From the opening of the first bourbon-focused bar, Buzzard's Bistro, to pioneering the idea of barrel selection for restaurant, company founder and master blender Jason Brauner has always been at the forefront of whiskey. After taking part in more than 100 barrel selections over his career, Jason is embarking on his most exciting challenge yet. Buzzard's Roost Sipping Whiskey, a rye he designed with the bourbon drinker in mind. His goal with Buzzard's Roost is still the same as it was 19 years ago, to educate and share his love of whiskey. Now, this particular expression that we are going to be tasting here is the straight rye whiskey, and that was a gold medal winner in 2021 at the San Francisco World Whiskey Competition.
All right. It's like, let me see. I'm going to try because it's little, and you know how, okay. Here at Buzzards Roost, our initiative approach to maturation allows us to deliver unique flavor profiles into our whiskeys. The whiskey in this bottle has been masterfully blended and then bottled at barrel strength. Sit back, relax, and roost a while. We hope you'll enjoy this expression of Buzzards Roost. Barrel strength straight rye whiskey, distilled in Indiana, bottled by Buzzards Roost Spirits LLC in Bardstown, Kentucky. It's non-chilled filtered. It's innovation within the bounds of tradition is what they're
on the front. It says what batch it is too. There.
This batch is 4.
All right,
it's
batch
4th
4.
batch, and it's bottle 555. So,
yep.
like I said, it was kind of cool to find here in Ohio because we don't see it a lot. I'm looking for the bourbon. The bourbon seems to be a little bit more popular than the rye, so we'll see. But, you know, in the glass, we're using our Scotchy Bourbon Boy Glencairns. You can kind of see that. The great thing about right now with our new HD camera, you get a lot more detail. So when you roll it around, you can actually set this on its side and roll it around, but then let it come off and the whiskey go on the sides. I'm not going to try and do that now. I've done it before, but I put it up there and then you hold it up to the light. You can watch how that clings to the side, and then you're looking for the legs, and the legs are pretty well a nice, thick, evenly spaced around the whiskey. It has nice legs, the thickness. So you're thinking that it's like most barrel proofs. There's a viscosity of the fatty acids and proteins that are in there that cling, that usually make make it cling to the glass so that you know you're going to get a good body, wouldn't you say?
Yep.
All right. So we're going to barrel bash this. So Xavier's going to man the barrel.
The Scotchy Bourbon Boys barrel bashing whiskey rating system. We rate in 4 areas: nose, taste, body, and finish. And you can give 4 up to 1 to 4 bashes per category. But since Tiny, rightfully so, says the emphasis should be on taste and finish, you can actually get 5 bashes on each of those categories. And you can also throw in one other bonus point that we call a
But-up.
Yeah.
And you can watch the past podcasts. It was right before we went to Kentucky Bourbon Festival in 2019. We came up with that but-up, or no, actually 2020. It was right before we did. Had to be 21, right?
Right, because 20 was virtual.
Yeah, Roxy and myself came up with it. It was a pretty funny podcast, actually. But all right, so our barrel bashing system, which the barrel bashing thing is over there. So
right, well, I don't need it right now.
Yeah. So what we usually do is we nose it, we check out the color, we check out the body. This is a dark mahogany color. It's beyond caramel. It's a very nice it's just a beautiful color. You know it's rich, there's no doubt about it. You know it's a barrel proof, and you know it's got some age on it based off of that darkness. So I pick up a little bit of the rye spice.
Yep, there's definitely some rye, and as one would expect with a rye whiskey, there's a real brainy comment, I guess.
I'm getting a little brown sugar, a little herbal. That's burnt brown sugar.
Yeah, burnt marshmallow or burnt brown sugar.
Yep. All right. So let's taste it.
And it gets spicy and peppery on the tongue.
I'm getting a little honey.
It does pick up a little bit of sweetness. And it stays pretty consistent as it fills your mouth.
So the rye spice is definitely neutral on this. It's neutralized by the burnt brown sugar taste. The burnt brown sugar almost adds a smokiness to it, like a scotch, but it's like a sweet smokiness, which is like burnt brown sugar. But there's rye there. It's got the spice, a delayed hug that's unbelievably warm.
If you like a warm hug, you won't be disappointed. This checks all the boxes.
and oakiness.
But you definitely go from a rye spice to a peppery spice on the tongue. It gets your attention as you start to taste it.
I just get that sweet. I get sweet on the front of my tongue, and then I get a little bit of the pepper is on when the burnt sugar at the back of my throat is overriding the rye. I get a little bit of the pepper to the back sides of my tongue, but on the front end,
I'm picking it up on the initial taste for some reason.
Nope. I get the sweetness of that caramely honey. That's what I'm getting.
I'm getting all that, but I'm getting it. It
lights
grabs
up
your tongue when you.
It's lighting up your tongue. I don't know why it's not lighting up mine, but that's how whiskey works. It lights up some people and doesn't on others. And yeah, I don't get that.
But it's definitely, you don't have what you term as a green taste.
Well,
on this
the rye spice is there, kind of like the spice I don't like, but instead of that first part of the rye letting me know it's there and that little bit of heat, when you go to actually finish the taste, it's a little peppery and it's a little burnt brown sugary, like a burnt taste. And I like burnt things. So if you take the aspect of how this is balancing out what I don't like about rye, it's being done like he created it for me to eliminate, because some people might not like the burnt aspect of this is not just like burnt brown sugar. This is like brown sugar that started on fire.
This is rye if you're a bourbon drinker. And he doesn't mention that for this specific expression, but on the website, he talks about crafting rye expressions with the bourbon drinker in mind. And I would say that this is consistent.
Right, because it doesn't detour me. It's there and I know it's there, but that's not the part. The first part of the rye isn't it's that second part where it's celery or vegetable-y or just there's an aspect of normal rye. And instead of that, it goes to a burnt brown sugar, but like it started on fire and what's left in the pan. And I like burnt things. So you took something that I liked and it's a little bit sweet, but it's a little bit charry. I don't know, like charcoaly, but then you put that rye there and that mix is actually quite delicious. So
this is a very pleasant tasting rye.
Yeah. And at 116, what is it? 114.3, that proof is not as evident to me.
It's certainly not evident on the nose either, because you don't get any, at least I don't detect any ethanol on the nose at all.
Wow.
And it's really good.
Now I'm starting to get a really good burnt vanilla finish that just is lasting forever. That second one, just the sweetness on it, when I didn't leave it on it's just on the back and then it's there and it's just like, wow. Now the body on this for 114.3 to me is a little lacking. I would say that when I'm thinking about this and I think about body, I would say that at 114.3, most of the time it lights up my cheeks and my cheeks aren't getting lit up. I don't have any flavor going to the sides of my mouth. All that flavor back of the throat, mid palate. It's a nice body, but it's not like that full complete body.
It's not the body you envisioned when you saw the legs forming on the glass.
Right. Yeah. You just thought that, right. So I think it's a little bit on the body is probably the weakest part, but
I would have to agree.
But with, the rating system I adjusted, who the fuck cares?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like the taste is the most important.
Not deter you from,
and I think the finish
is
always
the beverage
is always very important, because when you're done drinking, it's got to stay around. That's the last thing you drank, and that's what you're tasting. And when you're talking about bourbons or ryes, you want something in your, that you tasted, you want it to last as long as you can in a pleasant experience. Once again, you can have a really long finish, but if it's not pleasant, you're having a really long shit finish. It's a shit show. It's like, get that the fuck out of my. One time I think you actually said the strongest point of the bourbon is that it had a short finish. And that's why you were happy. That's why you gave it a good finish, because it got that shit out of your mouth fast.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of stuff that happens, right?
But that's not the case here.
Not at all. Not at all. it's like tasting is so evolutionary. As you keep going down, you start to learn what more and more you're tasting and whatever, and you're smelling. I mean, taking the executive bourbon steward class, we got the aroma sensory kit, and I've been using that lately. And it's adjusting what I call things. I always would get a root beer smell, but a root beer smell realistically is brown sugar or an herbal smell, because I'm smelling that same smell, and it's like, this is what herbal smells like, this is what brown sugar. So I'm kind of learning how to express myself better the more I go, because I recognize these smells through this kit, and then they put a name on it. So it's really kind of a cool thing to keep going through the smells of the kit. So anyways, all right, so now this nose has turned into caramel, like sweet fucking delicious caramel, apple caramel, the kind, those craft caramels, not the high-end caramel, the craft caramel. Like, I smell this and I want to pull the caramel off my teeth.
It's like, since it's aerated a little bit here, it has morphed somewhat, and I'm getting a strong caramel. And again, amazingly, I'm getting 0 ethanol. I mean, it's really for something this high of ABV, you would think you'd be smelling some ethanol. You don't smell it.
So these kind of ryes, and I almost have to start to, what would you say, alter my opinion on rye, because I keep getting people and buying bottles of rye, and I keep liking them. They're not that standard rye flavor. I might have to revisit like a bullet rye on the podcast, or a seagrass. If I don't think I could do seagrass again, because that just was too horrible. And I am 100% not reviewing Heaven's Door rye. That's not fucking happening again. But this rye, Luca Mariano's rye,
is fantastic.
The gunfighter rye that will be coming up on April 1st that we'll be doing, that rye, I mean, I've gotten a crap ton of ryes lately that are delicious, and then it made me want to buy a rye.
I'm a fan of Knob Creek rye.
Not me.
Yeah, I am. I think it.
Well, you should just
fantastic.
go dig it out of there, and then maybe we can finish up with it, and I can spit it out. And I like Knob Creek. I think it's down in that. If you push, the lights turn on.
We'll find it here after we're done.
All right.
Okay, cool.
What do you mean done? Done with what?
Well, done in a relative term. It's always ongoing. It's a continuous stream of consciousness.
We're always as to quote my favorite pop music star, the end is always near.
Jim Morrison.
There you go. And it's true, folks. The end is always near. All right, anyways. And
so you wouldn't be calling them folks, you should be calling them beautiful friends then.
Wonderful friends.
Yeah,
hey, friends,
no.
The ends are the end is always near. And so is a beginning, because with each ending is a beginning.
I was splicing more lyrics in there is what I was doing.
Oh, beautiful friends.
Yeah.
Which one was that?
That's from the end.
Oh, this is the
friends.
end. My beautiful. Okay.
Hey, get it? Sorry. Loses something when I have to draw you a picture, but you know what I mean. I thought I was quick. So
okay. I don't think the end is always near is from a different song, isn't it? The end is always near. It's actually, but anyways, but I like that quote, because people are always talking about what is the end, correct? Well, we are about to get to the end of this glass of Buzzards Roost, and then I'll go down there and dig.
Then it'll be a new beginning, like a phoenix rising out of the flames.
That phoenix has a nice legs.
Yeah.
I swear to God, if we ever do a bourbon mix, you just if we ever do a bourbon blend through the Scotchy Bourbon Boys, it's going to be called the Flame Rising Phoenix or something like that.
With
It's
great
like,
legs.
yeah, the Phoenix. Yeah, we could call it Phoenix.
Yeah,
that's a good one. Once again, all right. So grab the barrel, my friend.
Barrel, and we're gonna get ready to bash
this bitch. So it's like, this is unbelievable. It's a Saturday morning. I've had a little bit to eat, but this is only my second pour, and I'm feeling good off of just 2 pours. But it doesn't, help that both the pours that I've had so far today are barrel strength. So that's probably the problem here.
All right. So do you want to go first? You want me to go first? Up to you.
It's up to me.
Yeah, it's always up to you.
Go up first.
Okay. So we're going to talk about the nose. Originally, what I sampled on that nose, or should I say what I sensed on the nose versus what I tasted, there was a kind of a river to cross there. And normally in my sick and twisted, ignorant way of rating whiskeys, I don't like it when the nose deviates that much. However, this nose, after it aerated a little bit, and also for the fact that this whiskey does not reek of ethanol. We've had whiskey in here that is not as high a proof of this, and you just smell nothing but ethanol. I'm going to give the nose a 4 for those reasons.
You just rated it a 4 on the nose?
I did.
Well, yeah, it's a rye. It makes sense. Let's see.
Did you listen to my?
I completely listened to it. Yeah. I did. Xavier gives the nose a 4.
Now, what is Tiny's going to give the nose?
All right. The nose is getting penalized a little bit by me. Just a little. It's delicious. There's caramel. Now, what's really cool is I did a podcast right before with Young Nose, and my dominant nostril in that podcast was my left nostril. But to accentuate this, I just got chocolate. To accentuate this,
I'm not questioning his sincerity at all, or the sensitivity of his palate and how he can discern different flavors and aromas. But if you can pull chocolate out of anything, Tiny's the man to do it.
But the dominant nostril went to my right nostril. And it's funny because on the left nostril, which was dominant in the last podcast, I get a lot of caramel, a little bit of rye. And then somewhere when I opened up my mouth and I went towards the top, I got a little bit of chocolate. But on my right nostril, which is the dominant one, it's nailing the shit out of the rye on me. It's just, I could smell that rye. I mean, it's great when you get to do the sensory training. There's rye, wheat, corn, and you can smell it all. And the rye and the is just, that's there. But then the caramel comes in, but the rye is a little bit much for me. So on this nose, for this particular rye, I give it a 3. And once again, if I always felt that if you thought that, like, let's say you smelled the bourbon or the rye and it smells like shit, but then you drink it and it tastes delicious, who the fuck cares that it smells bad? You know what I mean? This is a taste thing. So hold your fucking nose and put down the shot and enjoy the taste. You know what I mean? That's kind of why we back off a little bit on the nose. So, all right. So I'm going to go first on the taste.
Go ahead.
Tons more. Now, initially it was burnt brown sugar. Now it's burnt caramel. And the caramel has become much more. I mean, as you go, the evolution of this, I'm giving the taste, and this will be a first ever, I'm going to give the taste a 5. but I'm also giving it a butt up. This is delicious.
My God, and this is a rye. Who are you and what did you do with Tiny?
I can't.
You've been abducted by aliens. And they left
His name is
substitute
Jason,
in
right?
place.
What Jason
Brauner.
Yeah, has done exactly what he tried to do. Somebody who really likes bourbon, he's made a rye for them, and that's what he's done.
Yeah.
This deserves what it got in San Francisco, right?
Jason.
I mean,
at the World Spirits Competition.
World
Spirits Competition.
Okay,
yeah.
that competition, I have to agree, because I think if I was drinking this, I think he's brought the perfect balance of the spice of the rye, but then he's got caramel, and then as it sits in my glass, it's evolving. It's good with the brown sugar, but it's just as good with the caramel. I mean, it's just done something that's spectacular. So I give it a 5 with the butt up. So let's just
5 with the butt up. So we're going to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Butt up. There we go. So what are you going to do on this, baby?
Well, I have to concur with you and my thoughts of it being exquisite. It must be good if you can rate it that high, because I know how you feel about rye whiskey in general, with some exceptions, but rye whiskey in general. I have to just totally agree. This is a magnificent expression of rye whiskey in this single barrel. And once again, what we like here, and I don't want to sound like a broken record, but you don't get any ethanol, and it's not burning your mouth. Now, I happen to be a little bit sensitive of the spices that you pick up initially on the taste, which Tiny didn't really get till mid or back palate, but it's a heck of a good taste. This is an outstanding rye whiskey. So you know what? It's going to be a 5 and a badump bump for me too.
But there you go. So he pulls that off. Now, just to make a note, I still have stuff to draw from, and I gave equal pours amongst us. And
some of us who like rye exquisitely drain it
faster, it's gone on Xavier's. That was getting the last drip. It's good to the last drip.
You got it.
It's not Maxwell House, it's Buzzards Roost.
Yep.
Anyways,
Roost
all right.
Responsible.
So that makes you. So I went first on the taste. You're going for the body.
Well, I'll tell you what. You had expressed some misgivings about the body, which I kind of concurred with you. But overall, I guess in retrospect, it is a pretty good body. So I'm going to give the body a 4. I get on subsequent gulps, if you will,
4 out of
chewing
4.
it. I'm getting more out of it, so I'm going to give it a 4 on the body.
So I'm just gonna say it's got to get to my cheeks to be a 4, and this doesn't reach the cheeks. It's a full, delicious. Where it gains, where it lacks in body, it gains in finish, because what's left is long and delicious and whatnot. But the 3, I just think the body on this is the only chink in the armor of perfection, if you can say that.
And so you're going to rate it as
a 3.
A 3.
3 out of 4. So the finish.
All right, the finish. This is a fantastic finish. I wish Mrs. Xavier was here. She's working today because she's a rye gal, and she would love this finish. It's one of the better finishes we've had, I think, because the other thing you don't get with this, and some people are going to like this aspect of it, some people are going to dislike this aspect of it, is a lot of times you pick up bitterness or some oak or tannins that are unpleasant, and this finish is sweet all the way back and spicy and quite warm. So I have to give this finish a 5. It's outstanding.
You can't give it a 5. You can give it a 4. Oh yeah, you can. You're right. I'm wrong.
Yeah.
For
I
me,
was wrong once.
You're always wrong.
That was back in 1969 when I thought I was wrong, but I was actually right. But that was the only time I was wrong. So.
There will be some people on the internet that think you're wrong about this, but
yeah,
that's okay, because
that's
just the way it goes.
Everybody's got a different palate.
All right. So the finish is quite good. What happens is at the back of your throat, you start to get that rye, and then it starts to go to, that's where some spiciness comes in, okay? But before it can go to what I hate about ryes, it goes to like a vanilla, a little bit of oak, and there's whatever, and it's the finish is very, very strong, balanced. It's like, I didn't think somebody could do this with the finish for a rye. So in my opinion, the most I probably could ever get of a rye of finishes is a 4 out of 5, because there's rye involved in it, and in this case, I'm going to give it the most I think I could ever give a rye finish. It's long, there's vanilla involved, there's a little bit of rye spice, there's a little bit of spice. It's delicious. You're not complaining what's in your mouth completely. So I give the finish a 4.
And there you have it.
So I give it a 16 out of 18. And Xavier gives it a 19 out of 18. Which brings us
Full
down.
disclosure, Xavier likes rye.
And Xavier likes whiskey. So a lot. It's just that simple, that fucking simple. So there's a lot of 19 out of 18s or 18 out of 18s involved in his palate, but it's kind of like he's the way to describe him, it's all or nothing, baby.
Well,
it's either he hates it or he loves it. There's not much in between.
I have a different threshold. I mean, there's a lot of you out there that have a much sharper palate than I do. With me, it's either I like it or I don't like it. I'm kind of just the blue collar, hand to mouth whiskey drinker.
So Xavier gives this a 19 out of 18, and I give it a 16 out of 18. So the Scotchy Bourbon Boys score is 17.5 out of 18,
which is a fantastic
Buzzards
score.
Roost. And it's even a more fantastic score that I gave it a 16 out of 18.
Well, the fact that you gave it, that it's not like down around a 12 is amazing.
Or a 3.
Because this is the man who has likened rye whiskey to old man's urine in the past on different we won't go into how he knows what it tastes like.
I've given ryes.
He's not a rye fan.
Rye's a 0 on taste.
Yeah.
So
I would say Jason Brauner has hit all the marks. He's checked all the boxes on this. This is a fantastic expression.
Definitely. So we give it a 17.5 out of 18. Highly recommended. But I can't wait to get a hold of. Actually, I think we're going to try and get a hold of Jason and see if he can send us some bourbon. So that would be really cool. And then have Jason on the podcast. That would be wonderful.
That would be awesome. I'd love to have him on the podcast, because this guy has found, his approach. If anything is validation to his approach, it's the fact that you rated his rye that well.
I think
he's nailed it.
But maybe he thinks the same thing that I think about certain ryes, where he's trying to, like he said in his description, he tries to make ryes for the bourbon drinker because he understands.
Well, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Maybe that's what
I'm saying, that he achieved what he was after, and you're evidence of that.
Right. Yeah. I'll give you that.
Yep.
So anyways, what I'd like to talk a little bit about we got a little bit of time here. We're not going to take up too much time, but the Scotchy Bourbon Boy podcast, the Scotchy Bourbon Boy YouTube, the Scotchy Bourbon Boy group, everything is starting to come together. I've got Xavier, he's podcasting more. We'll have more from Super Nash coming up in the future. We're going to have we've got a new Scotchy Bourbon Boy whiskey. He's been on.
He's joined us on Whiskey Live and podcast.
And then the friends of the Scotchy Bourbon Boys, some of the people we're meeting through the industry, through the podcast. I was just starting to go, I'd like to do a shout out to Randy Prossi of the Kentucky Bourbon Festival. He has been nothing but supportive of this. He's El Presidente of the Scotchy Bourbon Boys. He just got his Colonel title from the state of Kentucky. So that is Colonel Randy Prossi. So you've
Fantastic.
got that. Congratulations on that.
So he is El Colonel now, as long as
he's El Presidente. So I figured I've got to come up with a certificate for him being the El Presidente.
right.
So he's an El Presidente.
He's been
and a
highly
colonel.
supportive. You have Greg Snyder,
Mhm.
who has got to be the busiest man on the planet, and is so generous with his time to us. And
Especially after the last year.
oh my gosh,
Our
yes.
hearts go out to him.
Yep. Greg is just an outstanding guy. Take Chicken Cock Whiskey for a ride. You won't be disappointed.
Same thing. We've got Alan Bishop at the Spirit of French Lick. Nothing short of spectacular. Good friend of ours.
Oh yeah.
We've broke bread with him at his house, and Jolie Kasperzak and her husband Ken. We just appreciate
Husband
everything. Andy, you're right. Andy, thank you. We just appreciate.
Don't worry, Jolie. We won't tell Andy about Ken.
There's honestly,
Where did Ken come from?
There's a Ken Kasperzak. I think it might. I don't know. There is one on social media that's been talking to me. So I was like thinking that maybe they're related, but then it just came out. But Andy Kasperzak, and we just love you guys and everything that's going on.
And then we got to give a shout out to Sandy No, another one who's been so generous with her time for us.
And Fred and Freddie.
Freddie.
We met them,
Yeah.
and they've been spectacular. Fred's been going through a lot, but I think it looks like he's coming out on the other end,
Light at the
sparkling.
end of the tunnel, thank God.
And Freddie's been doing such a great job of doing everything that he does with Jim Beam. But I mean, there's just so many more. We got Wally Dant, Lynn Dant, Charlie Dant have been just so open to us. Thank you so much for they sponsor us, but they're producing fantastic bourbon. And what's going on down at Dant Crossing with their new log still distillery.
Pandemic.
From Watershed, but now with Ohio Liquor. April 22nd is our meeting at the Barrel Room,
Right.
and say Carrie Sullivan and her support of us on going in on this barrel.
And let's not forget Aaron Harris at Watershed.
Yeah, Aaron has been nothing but spectacular. Talk about giving me the experience that I've always dreamed of. I go down there and I'm pulling out out of a rye barrel, but we're thieving straight out of that barrel and drinking that whiskey. And I really appreciate everything that Aaron has done, how much support he's given us.
And I got to tell you, we've had some wonderful people that podcast with us, and I thank them all the time, because you can't begin to even imagine how busy these folks are. But we've had a couple barn burner podcasts here in the last few weeks.
I mean, Lisa Roper Wicker.
Oh my God, that was awesome,
and she's wonderful.
Marquez Ashworth too. I mean, that was
you nailed the shit out of that name.
Yeah,
Marquez was one of the coolest stories that we've had on.
This is a
and
guy
you're going to hear about him.
That I don't care how busy you are, he will make you feel lazy. This guy has got irons in the fire 24 hours a day. And he also somehow found time to podcast with us. And it was just an awesome podcast, a great story. Lisa Roper Wicker was fantastic. Everybody, we've podcasted with Aaron Harris. We've podcasted with Matthew Jackson from Preservation Society.
Wonderful.
Jade Peterson.
Yeah, I mean,
we've had
from
really
Kentucky Artisan Distillery, just awesome
good
people.
Fun podcast, educational podcast, and some great folks.
Plus, you got Stephen Beam and Tim Dant, which is the Dant, Wally Dant and Lynn Dant. He's the historian of the family who kind of been hooking me up with that. But then he's also involved with Stephen Beam, because the Dants and the Beams are all about Limestone Branch Distillery. And then you can't forget Jason Sparkman, who now is working at the Limestone Branch Distillery, third shift, distilling and fermenting. It's just fantastic what's happening overall when it comes to that. And then where Jason Sparkman was, you can't forget Patrick Heist and Shane Baker. They came on the podcast early on, but
what about the fellow from iBourbon that was Trip?
Trip Whitbeck.
Yeah, that was a great
wonderful
educational.
If you see iBourbon on the shelf in Wisconsin, grab it.
Yeah,
make sure you open it when you get it. Let it sit for a little bit.
You know, and I want to jump back to something we said. You know, Jeff, or excuse me, who the hell is Jeff? Tiny had his epiphany here with the Buzzards Roost single barrel rye, or what is that, small batch rye?
Straight rye
whiskey,
meaning it's at least 4 years old.
Right.
And
but when we did the podcast before last with Lisa Roper Wicker, she has an expression called decadence, which involves maple syrup. And for those of you who are the maple taste, maple barrels.
Well, it's finished in maple syrup barrels.
Maple syrup barrels,
and it's just kind of like.
And so, you know, there's a joke here. You know, maple syrup is like, maple syrup to me, generally speaking, is like, up until now, rye whiskey is to Jeff, to Tiny.
You keep calling me Jeff.
Yeah, I don't know who Jeff
the fuck is Jeff.
I don't know, some idiot. But this decadence is a fantastic expression. And if you like a sweeter bourbon with just but I'm not calling sickening sweet, but just more to the sweet side and just a good smooth finish, and you don't want any bitters coming in on the back palate, it was just an outstanding. So it's like, the joke is on me. It's like, here I'm dishing on a maple syrup finished bourbon, but it was fantastic. So that's what this is all about, is learning, being educated, and experiencing new things.
And you got to throw out kudos to Harlan Wheatley for coming on the podcast, explaining what Buffalo Trace is doing with their expansion. It's been such a fantastic ride meeting all these people, and what we're trying to do, and it's kind of like, it feels like everything's coming together.
Yeah,
the podcast is really doing what we wanted to do.
And I know where you got the Ken. Wasn't that Kenny Fuller and Jennifer Brandt?
Yeah,
with Luca Mariano, and that was an awesome
and
podcast.
Jennifer's
great lady.
I mean, last year at Kentucky Bourbon Festival, she's like, I got a lot of tickets. That you need anybody, and pretty much anybody I knew who wanted to go to Kentucky Bourbon Festival, Jennifer hooked them up with tickets to Kentucky Bourbon Festival, and we have to thank the folks at Luca Mariano and their support
and they
of the Scotchy
podcasted
Bourbon
with us. You know, Francesca Viola and Jennifer podcasted with us there at the festival. That was just awesome. And they make, if you get a chance to check out any Luca Mariano expression, you won't be disappointed.
Yeah, you won't.
It is fantastic.
Yeah, and their ryes I liked. Again, I did their single barrel 103 proof, and also their Americana, which they took up their proof up to, what is it, 89 correctly? That's the prime number kind of thing. Yeah,
right.
They went from
exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
and Jennifer and Kenny came on and were nothing but supportive, and the Scotchy Bourbon Boys really appreciate everybody, all the guests, all of our viewers.
Yeah, we appreciate your viewers. You guys all have busy days and busy nights, and a lot of you have somehow found time to listen to our podcast, watch our YouTube presentations.
There's a reason for that, because we're so fucking awesome. Right?
Yeah, hopefully that's part of it, but we got some awesome viewers. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for everybody who's listening.
Yeah,
who's listening. Keep listening. We're gonna keep pushing it. Look forward to, there is going to be a bus tour for the Kentucky Bourbon Festival, and one lucky person
or unlucky
is going to be on one of the, we're putting up a seat for a viewer and his choice to come along on this tour with us this year. That is going to be the next next contest that we have. So look forward to that coming up in the future, but that's for September for Kentucky Bourbon Festival.
September 2022, and we're looking forward to it. If you've never been to Kentucky Bourbon Festival, you need to give it a try. I want to say that I actually, being a bourbon drinker most of my adult life, I have my doubts about how much fun can this be or whatever. And my wife, Mrs. Xavier, also wasn't sure if she wanted to go or not. And she's hooked. She's hooked. We're probably going to be going every year till we die. So
Jesus God,
it's a lot of fun.
You're going every year. You didn't have to throw in the part about dying.
Well, I just not that we're going to hasten our deaths by going. I didn't mean to.
Well, we might.
I'm just saying for the duration.
You never fucking know.
Well, I don't know if you make me sit down and have 8 shots like you did the other night. For God's sakes, I might. But that's all right. That was all Widow Jane expressions. Remember
I never
that?
did that. I don't remember.
Oh,
that. I don't know what the fuck he's talking about.
Yeah, that's because you had 8 as well.
All right, everybody, that covers it. Remember, www.scotchybourbonboys.com. Check us out on all podcast formats. Remember, leave good feedback and make sure you subscribe to anything you're listening to or watching us on or following what we do. So with that,
have a good one, folks. Thank you.
Remember, good bourbon equals good friends and good times. Live dangerously.
Oh, show me the way to the next whiskey bar. Oh, don't ask why. Oh, don't ask why. Show me the way to the next whiskey bar. Oh, don't ask why. Oh, don't ask why. For if we don't find the next whiskey bar, I tell you we must die. I tell you we must die. I tell you we must die.
All right, that ends this part of the podcast, but we are still here with you guys for a little bit of extra time. Audio magic. I'm gonna just quick get this saving.
I gotta have another splash of this.
Well, that's what we're gonna. That's what I was gonna. Well, who's driving to lunch?
That's a good question.
Well, but at the same time, if you want a little splash, just know you're driving to fucking lunch.
We had that shot there, and I'm gonna give it a little more time. We always drink responsibly.
I'm such an asshole. Because
since I'm going to be the DD, I don't need another splash.
Yeah, and there's no way I'm the DD anymore.
Well, you had a jump on me though, so
hey, you had a chance to participate.
Well, I knew Young Nose had the matter in hand, and
yeah, but Young Nose likes to see you. That's bullshit. I do need you. That is bullshit. Actually, that's what I wanted to discuss a little bit in the extra. It's like Xavier is, I want to just say to everybody, Xavier is a history buff, and he knows a lot about a bunch of shit that for the most part
nobody gives a fuck
about. But at the same time,
my knowledge and $3 will buy you a drink at happy hour.
But at the same time, there is a talent in there that if we hone it, it's going to be fucking awesome. And so I envision down the line, I didn't tell you this, but I envision you doing a few podcasts on history where
it overlaps into the bourbon industry,
where Tiny will just shut the fuck up and sit.
That'll be a first.
Yeah, exactly. But I've learned, I went to a virtual leadership safety conference this week, and I plan on shutting the fuck up a little bit more.
You've actually done better the last couple podcasts. I've been able to get a word in edgewise.
Yeah, but at the same time, I wasn't doing bad before.
No, you weren't doing bad.
What I wanted to do is fine tune excellence. I don't want to interrupt guests. I learned that a lot of times it's a selfish thing when you basically interject into a conversation that when you interject,
as much as I'd like to call you a selfish bastard, that's not the case. You have so much to say and you have good comments and everything. And it's not that you're being selfish. It's just you want to
have a
get the content out there for people.
But
so nobody thinks that. It's just
I have to back it off a little bit.
You need to save it so we have more to throw in other
so
podcasts.
That the person that's talking can throw in more.
Right.
And then also just remember, my memory sucks shit. And then after COVID, it even sucks shit more. And so sometimes I'm trying to interject because, for instance, I tried this with my wife the other night where I just let her talk like I was supposed to. And I did. But I had something to interject. But by the time she was done talking,
folks, there's a revolutionary concept for you. Let your wife talk.
I let her talk all the way. I let her talk. I didn't interrupt. She just wanted to talk. I let her do it. But when it came time to interject what I wanted to interject to the conversation, it was fucking gone. It wasn't even close. There was nothing there. And that's my problem, why I usually interject when it comes up, because if I don't, I'm kind of screwed. Mm-hmm. So sometimes if it's important, I'll have to analyze the importance of that.
So anyhow, what I think we're
as
getting
he
at,
interrupts.
Yeah, you know what?
It's like Jeff. He's like, it's time for Jeff to shut the fuck up.
When I grow up, I want to be just like you. So I think where we got off on a tangent here, I'm going to be doing some, like Tiny has his 10 minutes tastings. We're going to have maybe not even 10 minutes because we'll put everybody to sleep, but maybe like a 5 or 7 minute blast of history where it overlaps into Kentucky and the bourbon industry. I will be something that I find fascinating or have on my mind. We're going to do that.
We're going to do the rest of the story for bourbon.
Right.
Or whiskey.
We're going to have to come up with something other than that, or we might have a copyright infringement.
What do you mean? He's dead.
Well, I'm pretty sure his estate, whoever owns the
the
podcast,
the rest of the bourbon, the rest of the whiskey story. So no more.
Yeah, something like that.
I don't think you can even copyright the rest of the story because
I'm pretty sure you can. That's been copyrighted, but we'll talk about that later.
I mean,
we'll come up with something totally original.
Well, I'm going to say it like 40 times. The rest of the story. The rest of the whiskey story.
What are you obsessive compulsive for what?
No fucking shit. It's like that's what everybody loves about Tiny. I got some energy. I'm fucking ADD. So you're going to move that out of the way right there. Was that in your face, in front of your face?
Yeah, for most of it. That's okay. It's probably an improvement.
Wait. Oh, no. It was just a little bit. Yeah, there you go. I'll share some so I'm not dead.
Thank you.
Cheers. All right, everybody. Scotchy Bourbon Boys signing out for this podcast. Know that right now, when you're listening to this, that I am down in Florida enjoying the tropics.
And I'm still struggling up here in Ohio, just so you know.
All right, everybody.
Don't feel sorry for me. I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Good bourbon equals good friends and
good times. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
And go out there and live dangerously.
The watershed story. A watershed moment might be pivotal, but it might also be quiet and fleeting. It could be a monumentous occasion, a cause for celebration, an enormous triumph, or a small daily victory. A watershed moment could be a rekindling or an observation or a gathering. Any opportunity to relish with friends and family. It's whatever you choose to cheers to, who you're gathered around, and whatever's worth celebrating. We founded Watershed Distillery on the principles of community in 2010. We wanted to live in, work in, and contribute to the community in which we grew up. We aimed to create spirits and stood apart in quality and character. Along the way, we set out to form a community of our own, one that could gather together to savor, celebrate, and enjoy good spirits and company. We've grown from a tiny little still and 2 guys in jumpsuits to a dedicated team of over 40 people and 2 much larger stills. If you're ever in the area, stop by so we can introduce you to our team and pour you some of our award-winning bourbon. Creating it was our watershed moment, but we want to hear about yours.